Hello, welcome back to Amazon Suspension Trends. This is Chris McCabe of E-commerce Chris. Today addressing something that I thought was on the way down in terms of the frequency. I still see it currently happening, and that is, well, actually two things. One, I'm still hearing from a lot of people who are waiting for long periods of time for Amazon to get back to them without even knowing if they will get a response, number one. Number two, if they get a response, will it just be the same copy and paste response that they always get? I bring that up because I've mentioned to people at Amazon directly several times, by the way, I'm working with somebody who got the same message 4 or 5 times in a row, the same boilerplate canned message that Amazon themselves pretty much knows has no value, right? They're sending it just to say they sent something. And these aren't just people we're working with. Sometimes it's people we may potentially work with. But if they've gotten the same message 3, 4, 5 times, they need to be doing escalations that have no submission through Seller Central, nothing to do with that. Email escalations from the primary email on the account that say simply, I've sent you 3 or 4 different appeals with different documentation, different things attached, maybe proof of things that they need to evaluate, whatever it might be in that situation. 3, 4, 5 times they've gotten the same exact response back. That is a rubber stamped, easy, excellent way of escalating something right away. And you can speak to account health reps on a call. You can write an email that goes to escalation email targets that explains this, but put Amazon, I guess, back on their heels or make them explain why you keep getting the same message over and over. If there's a succinct, concrete reason, well, we asked you for blank and you sent us something else. Okay, well, then they need to pony up and say that. Can't hide behind the generic boilerplate message that they've been addicted to sending for the last 18 months, because actually it creates more work and more headaches for them. You end up escalating it all over town, all over Seattle, to try to get somebody to really read it and to do some legit work and to push the issue closer to solution. You are going to have to carry the burden to motivate them to do it. If you give them an out, like they say, oh, we'll check into it. Well, you're going to have to wait. We'll look at it. We'll get back to you. First of all, they may not even intend to get back to you, and they might not realize in their own minds that they're never going to get back to you, but that might be the situation, right? How could you possibly afford to wait, especially times like these, price increases, FBA costs going up, storage fees and ad costs going through the roof? How can you just sit around on their say-so and just wait because they told you to wait? Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. I would never tell you to take the law into your own hands, but take the matters into your own hands, and you're going to be responsible for nudging and pushing a little bit and pressuring them to get this thing through their upper echelons and their food chain to somebody who's a responsible party, who has maybe mid-level managers reporting directly to them. Maybe they even have executives reporting to them. But that's going to be up to you to understand how this works. You're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to talk to me about it. You're going to have to talk to somebody who knows about it, either inside Amazon or outside of Amazon, without guessing, without pretending that they know this stuff, without pretending that this is something you should take to Amazon legal instead. All of that is mush, right? I think at this point, most brand owners and sellers that at least we interact with at events or on calls or by email, most sellers understand that these knee-jerk, quick fix solution techniques of, we've got a boilerplate template that we've used and we're going to have you copy and paste it and fill in some blanks and send it to somebody in Amazon legal who may or may not even know who the heck you are and what the problem is. Most people understand that that's garbage at this point, right? You're not wasting appeals on that. Hopefully you're not wasting appeals on the second topic I wanted to get to, which is starting your appeal with a generic copy and paste intro, like whether you email it or you send it through Seller Central, kind of doesn't matter at this point. If you're going to use the first paragraph that numerous other people have used that day, that week, that month, and they all got rejected too, why would you expect that to work, right? I understand a lot of people are sourcing generic content on online, on AI or ChatGPT or whatever, or they just buy a template for $500. Those all have the same language. Amazon has caught up to the phenomenon that something that starts off with a sentence like, I am the principal of, well, those appeals never work. And they already know in their brains that they've rejected those dozens or hundreds of times during the course of that week. So it's like, they're not going to read it. and you know you're going to get a generic denial back. So why send it, right? Ask yourself these questions. Don't just blindly accept whatever some low rate chop shop service gives you and tells you to send in through Seller Central or email at this point. I think at Amazon, at this point, everyone knows that you basically just copied and pasted something, or that you source something cheap. Basically, that you don't have a strategy, that you're not interested in customizing anything. So why should they spend the time on it? Because if it's an ASIN that's suspended and you don't care about that ASIN, well, okay, of course they can just deny it and move on. You don't really care about the ASIN anyway. You didn't care about it enough to spend any time on it or to treat it as a professional emergency or a professional situation. Account suspensions, I'm still sort of mystified, even after 10 years of doing this, why people throw garbled content where the English language isn't even properly there. There are typos or grammatical errors. I mean, I'm not sure if that's just a lack of proofreading, copy editing. A lot of times they assume that you're just pumping something into a ChatGPT style engine, taking whatever is spit back at you and copying and pasting it into the email appeal. If you're sending stuff like that to an executive at Amazon, it's a non-starter. You're advertising to Amazon that you're too lazy or too indifferent to put time into it. So it means you don't care about it. Well, if you don't care about your account and your account is suspended, why should Amazon care about it? They've got so many other appeals to read, so many other accounts to look at from people who actually put some research and maybe fact finding and maybe data collection into the effort before they wrote an appeal around it. Or just did some digging into why their last appeal was denied instead of faking a call to account health and saying, okay, you guys can't tell me anything, forget it. I'm just going to send in the last thing I sent. If you keep spamming them with the same content over and over, you shouldn't expect respect from Amazon. You shouldn't expect a result. You shouldn't expect them to care. You shouldn't expect them to waste time on it because they think you're wasting their time. And I've got other examples. Right now, the one that jumps to mind is the I am the principal of. I don't know after all these years why people are still sending in appeals that start with that. It says, Dear Seller Performance Team, comma, I am the principal of blank, naming the company or the storefront. And then the next 2 or 3 sentences essentially begin and go from there the same exact way. So not only are there bots and their AI identifying that you sent something in that's basically been marked as a no work needed temp, but also human beings reading these things are immediately biased against you once they read that language because they know they've rejected the last 99 appeals that went in that started that way. That's number one. The language is betraying you. Number 2 is they more or less guessed, and I've heard this from a couple of people, I think it might have been at Amazon Accelerate last September, they more or less guessed that you're all buying from the same generic boilerplate producing party, the copy and paste guys, right? The chop shop services. And they know you did it because you didn't want to spend time on it, or you didn't want to spend money on it, or you just didn't want to deal with it for whatever reason. Okay, fair enough. It's a stressful process. Not everybody wants to spend all day writing an appeal. That's understood. This isn't the solution. This is a waste of your time and your money. And this is shooting yourself in the foot or both feet in both hands. You're really not going to get any traction. You might be encouraged if they respond to you and they haven't answered you in a month and then all of a sudden you get an answer. But if you get a generic copy and paste answer, you haven't really produced anything of value and you burned through another appeal and you wasted more days. So I'm still seeing these kinds of trends. I'll be talking about this very soon in France at our Seller Velocity event, which is June 4th in Lyon. We'll include the information in this video. But this is becoming what my whole talk will circle around. How can you waste time on appeals when you need as much revenue as you can possibly get these days? You can't experiment. You can't make rookie mistakes. You can't stand up and wave and indicate that you're an amateur. They don't really care how new you are. They don't care really if you've got any appeals experience under your belt. They don't want to see trial and error. They really don't want to waste time on anyone who starts the process looking like they don't have their act together, or they don't have experience, or they don't know what they're doing, or they had their VA do it, or they found somebody on Fiverr. I'm just baffled that these things are still going on because they've got a 2% chance of any meaningful result. If you know your odds are that stacked against you, then don't even do it once. I do hear from people who are like, well, I only sent these in a couple times because I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I was hasty and I didn't think about it. Okay, well, I mean, we all understand the psychology, but if you're going to cave in to panic like that, you got to stop yourself from doing anything until you stop panicking. And you have to think through the problem. And I'm not saying that to blame anyone who panics and makes mistakes. I'm saying it because Amazon won't respect you for caving into panic and for wasting their time. You have to put yourself in their brain, or into my former seller performance brain, and think about what's going to trigger them to avoid me or ignore me or deny me. Don't serve yourself up on a platter by being like, here's what I got. I know it's not very good, but it made me feel better to put it in front of you, right? Don't start with these, I am the principal of appeals, and there's other versions of that. You almost don't need me to list them. Maybe in a future video, I'll come up with a couple of additional ones. But if it's some version of that, which obviously reeks of this is at the top of everybody's template, I mean, you kind of know you're failing before you do it. So why do it? That's kind of what I want to get across to you today. And then just to reiterate before I go, this concept of Amazon told me to wait. My SAS Core rep told me to wait. They said they opened a ticket. Support told me they reopened a ticket. Any teams, compliance teams, performance teams, even catalog teams, of course, they're trained to put you off and to stall you. Of course, they're trained to tell you to wait. That doesn't mean you just lap it up and accept it as truth and accurate. You are responsible for moving this stuff forward through the food chain. Now, if you spam them every hour, then of course, that's not what I'm saying to do. Of course, you give them time when you send an escalation email or you send in an appeal. You don't give them 3 hours and then say, well, it's been a long time, I want to send another one. No, of course, I'm not saying that, and don't take that message from today's video. Take away from it that you have to take what they say, whether it's account health, your SS Core, whoever it is, take it with a grain of salt, evaluate it at a high level, a strategic level, and think about whether or not you're harming yourself, hurting your revenue, maybe hurting your appeals chances of resolving it this week or this month by just taking them at their word and waiting. I still have people who contact me on a Monday and then they say they want to wait. They just sent something and then I hear from them Friday afternoon. Don't be one of those people. Those people are losing 4 or 5 days of sales and then they end up hiring us anyway. At least talk to us and consider having us involved earlier on a Monday or Tuesday. Or if you're not going to have us do it, at least have a strategy of your own that you implement on Tuesday or Wednesday of that week instead of waiting 3, 4 extra days, because you're really not waiting. It's an arbitrary number of days you're waiting, right? You're kind of, in your mind, 1 or 2 days might be a long time. In another seller's mind, maybe somebody I meet with in France when I'm at our seller velocity event next month, maybe for them, 3, 4, 5 days will be considered an appropriate amount of time. Some of that's even cultural. I've noticed that European sellers think that a reasonable amount of time to wait is 5 to 7 days. US sellers, 1 to 3 days for the same kind of thing, right? So it depends on the person, but don't just have as your strategy, well, we plan to wait until we hear from Amazon. I know there are even appeals consultants and services out there that are telling their clients, we're just going to wait until we hear from Amazon. It could be a week, it could be 30 days, it could be 21 days, but we gave you an appeal, you sent it in, we're going to wait until there's an answer. That's not the right way to go. That is not expert level advice. It's poor advice and it doesn't reflect the knowledge of today's Amazon 2025. Questions on this, definitely let me know. Because I want to see between now and the end of this year, at least, or let's say between now and Q4, I want to see many fewer people making these kinds of obvious mistakes and costing themselves that kind of revenue, especially for things where they've been waiting like a month. Sometimes we swoop in and finish it and fix it in 3, 4, 5 days. So if instead of waiting 27 extra days, they came to us on day 3, it would have made a difference and they wouldn't have lost that money. And that's money they can dedicate to paying off some of their loans or dedicate it towards their ad spend or dealing with their new tariff strategy or something like that. There's no reason to cost yourself that amount of revenue just because you're stuck in the mud and don't know what to do next. Approach us, let us know if you've got questions on this, and I'll see you next time.